This interview is with E5 Raphael Barron. Mr. Barron was born in Brownsville, Texas on August 23rd, 1946. Mr. Barron served from 1965 to 1969 in Vietnam. Mr. Barron achieved the rank of E5. This interview is being done on Sunday, December 8th in Yuba City, California. This interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project and the Library of Congress as part of a Da Vinci High School America at War project. So to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about your parents, your siblings, and their occupations? So what did they do?
My parents are both deceased. Well, my father was Rodolfo Barron and my mom was Hortensia Barron. And they're both deceased for about 25 years.
Okay. So what did you do before the war?
We used to be contract as migrant workers to come and work up in the fields.
Did any of your other family members serve?
Yeah, my oldest brother served in the army.
Okay. So, were you drafted or were you enlisted?
No, I was a volunteer.
Okay. And did you choose your branch or?
Yeah, I choose my branch.
Okay. What was your experience like in basic training?
To me, basic training, it was very hard for me.
Did you receive any specialized training? Were you a sniper? Were you?
No, I was an 0311. It's a ground pounder, which is a combat unit. It's a rifleman.
And how was your adaptation in military life? How was the physical part of it? What was the food like, the social life in the barracks?
That's from the boot camp or
Yeah, just military life in general.
military life. It was very hard for me. Very hard.
So when you got shipped to Vietnam, what was it like when you first got on the ground there?
Well, to me, if I go back right now, that was the most, I see. It was an ugly experience. I never seen death in my life until I got there. I never seen people mistreated, slavery. You could kill anything, nobody would have said nothing. That was Vietnam for me.
Do you have any details about specific battles you were in?
Yes, one time we were like in an L shape. We were in the bottom of the hill. And we set up for somebody might be coming our way or whatever. And we got mortared, we got machine gun fired, but we didn't lose nobody that night. But on the other side of the hill, they got hit real bad. And the next morning you used to go down and patrol and then come back up. And you see all these people and you see these bodies bags where you drag them up the hill so a helicopter can carry them back to the main camp. And that was one of my experiences. And never felt like what's death until you see this person in a body bag, you know. It's just like not like a game, but it's like, it feels, you get the chills, you start throwing up. You get this feeling that you're so scared, you know. It's not during the daytime you get scared, but during the night, because as much as you wanted to wake up every night, stay up all night, and it was hard. I mean, You try to sleep during the daytime, but then the mosquitoes eat you up, or the leeches or whatever, and then it rained like crazy over there. I mean, it was never time to sleep because you always had something to do. Always got to stay alert. You sleep with your rifle next to you or whatever you had. You never knew what was coming towards you.
Did you have any duty away from the front lines? Were you ever sent, like, did you have hospital, when you were hospitalized, how was that experience?
It was when I caught malaria for a little bit. They sent me back. I felt like, man, this is nice. But then a couple of weeks, you get well, they send you right back. You don't want to go back. You try to tell the doctor, no, I'm still sick. He said, no, you're going back.
Did you have any friendships during the service?
Yes, I did.
Can you go into detail about those?
I went with this guy out of high school. We were best friends. And we were the only two Mexican kids in our platoon. The rest of them were white or black. And that's the only one I could talk to him in Spanish, and. And we were not from the same hometown, but we almost same little valley that we used to live at. And we always used to talk about what we're gonna do when we get out and, if make it back to the United States. But unfortunately, he never made it back. And I lost him when I went to see him when he got shot. And I knew he wasn't gonna make it. I mean, blood was pouring all over his body, and he just hit me. I mean, I still could see him yelling for his mom. And it still is an ugly feeling to talk about it. See, we were planning to do things together when we came back to the United States. It never happened.
Okay. How was communicating with loved ones back home? How was the letters and such?
In those days, there was no such thing as cell phones or like the people do in Iraq now. They go to a tent and they call it parents or their girlfriends or whatever. Those days, it were just letters. You send a letter, a month later, you go out to the field, and you came back from the field to get a hot meal. They have all your mail piled up right there. In those days, I didn't have nobody in my life, so the only one that wrote to me was my parents.
So what did you guys do when you were off duty?
In camp,
Yeah.
like for instance, you come back from say like in the war zone, right? And they got areas that say they bring you some beer. A lot of guys smoke dope, and I mean, it was only normal. There was nothing just to kill time, dance, drink, throw fits. That now you're already fighting against them. You fight against each other because you're getting everybody's nerves.
How old were you when you enlisted, and why did you enlist?
Well, I told my dad I didn't want to do that work field. And I was walking in Main Street we used to go work in Salinas picking strawberries. I was walking down Main Street and I saw this guy in dress blues. And he told me, hey, you want to join the Marine Corps? How much it pays? I didn't know what it was. He said, how much you pay? Well, you take this test. You pass this test, you're in. I said, fine, I'll take the test. 5 days later, they came and got me. You are now in Marine. So when I got to San Diego, I said, this is nice food, but it was nothing that I planned it, I mean, just a walk through, through Main Street.
So how old were you when you enlisted?
17 and a half.
And what did you expect or get out when you enlisted? Did you get a stipend at all for enlisting, or?
No.
So you what did you expect when you went in? Or did you expect a bunch of...
Well, when the recruiter tells you you're going to go see the world, That's a big lie. Well, I didn't know. I mean, they say you're going overseas. I didn't know there was such thing as Vietnam. I never been out in a ship or a little boat or a fishing boat or nothing like that. I never been just work in the fields and go back home. You know, I mean, that was it. I never been in a ship or an airplane or whatever. You know, a lot of kids now they're born, they're already in a plane, but going back and forth, going to see their grandparents. Our family was not that way. So to me, it was something that, well, I'm gonna be seeing the world.
Did you return home by boat or by plane?
No, they flew us back.
And how did your loved ones receive you? How did your community receive you when you got back home?
They used to spit on you, black burners. You were embarrassed to wear your uniform. You know, in those days there were a lot of hippies, a lot of people that were against the war. I mean, they hated anybody they talk about Vietnam. They used to hate it, and it was fine with me because I didn't want to talk about it.
How was readjustment to civilian life?
Very hard.
So did you stay in contact with your fellow veterans after you got back, or did you join a VA?
I joined a group. Now I'm in a group session now with all these old veterans from the Vietnam War. Every Tuesday we get together and we talk about our life, our families, about which way you treated your kid, because all this anger you got inside of you, it's better to be in a session and divorces and stuff like that goes through you. And it's hard.
How did what you experience affect you now? How does Vietnam shape your perspective on life?
The anger, a lot of anger, a lot of, how can I explain to you? Mistrust people, you know, you don't trust people very much. And I watch the news a lot and I see questions they ask, you know, and they'll never have answers for it.
What life lessons did you learn from the war?
For me, to me, it was a big mistake. I see it all the time now. Now, when I was in the service, I never talked about it because when you pick up your arm and your right arm and you say, whatever it's gonna do, you're gonna do it. That you were, your heart tells you that you're gonna do what you were told to do. Don't ever go against the government. But now I don't belong to the government. I believe they still do a lot of big mistakes. A lot of them, and I see it in every war. I see so many mistakes, and people die for no reason, and I just don't understand. I always ask why. Why do we have to go to this war, that war, that war? What? I know it's all money. I understand that. Big company makes money. People that make the ammunition, people that make the truck, the tanks, all these people make money. But the poor soldier that walks and carries that rifle, he don't make nothing. He just died for it. That he believes in the American way.
So what experiences from Vietnam affected you most?
My family, my kid, my oldest son right there, mistreating them, yelling and screaming. I tried to take it out on them because I had this anger in me. But I'm trying to be a better father now.
So what did you do when you got back from Vietnam? Did you get a job or did you just...
The first job I ever had, I went to Ford Motor Company in San Jose, and you make an application like any other application for a job, and they ask you, what do you used to do in the service? I used to kill people. That was my MOS. That's what they paid me for. The guy said, well, we don't hire people like you. But they asked me what I did there.
Were there any specific battles that you'd like to go into detail about?
Chular.
Yeah.
Chular, we got in a big battle there. Capture Viet Cong, bring them back to base, and then at that time you don't understand their language. You grab a whole bunch of them, bring them back, watch them they get ¿cómo se dice? Interrogated, and you watch these officers, Vietnamese officers, just pull the gun and shot them in the face, and your blood just run down your feet. And you wonder why, what was the question that we're asking? Or he said something that they didn't like? Or what? Well, I still, until right now, I still don't understand why that person got killed after we captured him. And nobody said nothing.
So, was there a lot of rule breaking that went on?
In that war?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Can you go into detail?
No, not really. Because what's done is done, and we can't fix it. You know, there won't be no way of fixing things. So, I wish I would not say anything. But there was a lot of things that were done wrong.
So did you develop relationships in the war, or like were there any real life relationships? Did you come back with anybody, or do you remember anybody from the war, or you come back not remembering anybody?
Not really. I try to keep it. I don't know.
Okay. So at this point, we'd like to open it up if there's anything that you just want to say about the war.
To me, about the war, I'm just talking about the Vietnam War. My question is, and anybody can find out why these 50,000 men died and why. I see go to stores and I see them buy stuff made in Vietnam. What was the reason for us young kids at that time went to war and we didn't get why? I mean, I see this old man just the other day on the news. He went to see North Korea and they kept him there until they finally released him. They were trying to put charges against him because he was a soldier during the Korean War. So I just wonder why the United States got to be involved in every single war. Why do we have to be in somebody else's business? There's enough problems here in the United States without us fighting somebody else or trying to save. We're not got to save everybody. We can save ourselves. Let's put ourselves first than trying to help somebody else. Let's help these people. I see a lot of poor people, homeless, walking around, and like they're nobody. I mean, to me, I think we're doing things wrong. I mean, as an Americans.
So how do you think different races experienced the Vietnam War? Did they experience it any different than just an average white soldier, or?
Well, this is a good question. In the Vietnam War, there were more uneducated people in that war. There were most of them were like country people. All my white friends, they were like from Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. I mean, these are guys that some people even had an education because you were just they were drafted at that time. There was a draft, and they just had to go do their 2 years of service or 3 years of service, whatever it was. But there was no. You hardly see the only ones you see had an education there was the officers. They were like right out of college, fresh officers. But they were not people that were now you want to join the service. I see it now. You got to have so much years of school. You got to have at least a couple of years of college or something. In those days, you can go with a 7th grade education. Here's your rifle. Just follow the other guy. And it was not very complicated either.
Did you ever have, or did you ever feel that you had a sense of security while you were in Vietnam, or did you feel that like someone could pop out at any moment and shoot you?
For 13 months, I felt that way. Every night, I thought, tonight is my last night. Especially when they tell you you're going to go home. And they tell you, well, you're going to leave September 24th. From September 1st to the 24th, you don't sleep. They send you in patrol. I said, well, if I make it tonight, to the morning going up to the hill, I'll be safe. That was those 24 days before I came home. That was the most ugliest feeling you get.
How have your experiences impacted your view on conflicts, on wars?
Like I told you earlier, whoever does this, or Congress or presidents, senators, I don't know who they are, if we go and get involved in some other countries, this is the foot soldier that does all the hard work. Foot soldier don't ask questions why. You just go. You just do what they tell you to do. You don't ask questions why.
How soon after arriving in Vietnam did you see combat?
The next day.
Did you speaking Spanish? Did you feel threatened speaking Spanish at all? Were people harsh to you that you spoke Spanish?
No, not really. No, no. No, because everybody's got a weapon. There's nothing that will cut. You can take care of that person. If he try to tell you who you are, what you are, whatever they want to call you. We all got live ammunition, you know. And so that's why you gotta be friends.
Yeah. Is that how differences were solved? Was fighting, or?
I don't know, but it could happen.
So, do you think those that were drafted experienced the war differently than those that volunteered?
Yes, I think so. They were there because they had to be there.
Did you have any experiences with going through villages on like humanitarian missions? Going into villages in Vietnam?
What do you mean by that?
Like, did you go in and give help or aid to any of the villages, or were you just there to fight?
We were just there to destroy the village.
So, had you ever used a weapon before enlisting, and was it difficult to learn?
Well, not really. I mean, you learn that at a boot camp when they say to training to use your weapon, how to fire your weapon, how to qualify with your weapon.
And being left-handed, was that difficult?
Oh yes. Oh heck yeah. I got punched up a couple of times till you have to do it. This is the Marine Corps way. You do it our way or the highway. and said, you will learn how to shoot right-handed. And I guarantee you will shoot right-handed. Even if I have to block that eye of yours. You cannot look through your left eye, you gotta look through your right eye. And I learned.
Was there a lot of dispute between the American soldiers?
No, not really. You're talking about like our squad itself? No, we get along pretty good. We did get along. We were trying to save, you protect each other's life, you know. You lose one, you get another guy tomorrow. You get this guy next day, or whatever, you know.
And what kind of amenities did you guys have? Did you guys have volleyball pits? For your downtime, did you guys have a TV or something?
What?
A television? Or
1965?
or any sort of anything to kill time, or just sleeping?
Well, when we come back to the camp, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's our time to go get drunk. That was it. There was no. They used to get, say, if you were in combat zone for 6 months, you might get R&R. You know, you wanted to go to any country except the United States. You know, you go for 4 or 5 days to get you out of the combat zone.
Did you ever have any reactions with villagers? Did you ever talk to the villagers in Vietnam, or were you just moving through?
I don't know. You just so long ago that they spoke their own language, and mostly just women and kids. I mean, they used to tell it that the young man, they used to take them, made him do what they have to do, you know, they just leave the old man. When we went to every village, it was just old women and young children and their animals. There was no such thing as tractors. There were just water buffaloes, pigs, no chicken, no dogs. Just a lot of water buffaloes and pigs. That's all I remember.
So did you ever meet any other soldiers that had similar experiences being left-handed?
Yeah.
So they made you be right-handed?
Yeah, you learn. Just like anything else, you wanna get a bow and arrow, and just like writing, if you wanna write right-handed or left-handed, you know. But I mean, that was not your way of doing it. They were gonna show you how, but the hard way.
Did any American soldiers speak Vietnamese?
They only had a couple of like officers that went through the Vietnamese class.
And did you ever learn to speak any Vietnamese at all?
No.
Okay, so did you ever have any interactions with any special operations there? Any special operations people spend any time at your base at all?
Like for instance, like you're asking me, did we have like? I remember when you're in the middle of wintertime, they came, like when they had the tour of Bob Hope and Anne Margaret, Raquel Welch, and they fly them into the camp, and then we all sat out there and then did their thing, and that's about it. Yeah, only one time I saw that.
What was the food like?
The sea rations.
Mm-hmm.
We were eating. The Marine Corps, we were getting sea rations from World War II. So they had to finish out the old stuff. And then we go from there, we start eating the sea ration from the Korean War until they came. But they gotta burn, see, I guess they make so much food. And it was all left over. So in this war they started, they had to burn all this food out, and then by the time they came in with a new food. But I mean, we used to get one hot meal a week, maybe, or twice a month, or but most of the time you're out there in the field. I mean, if it gets really bad, then they don't bring you in. You stay on top of that hill, and that's all they bring is your sea rations. You just warm up the put this in the can.
How big was your camp or fire base?
A power base, the main one,
Mm-hmm.
but they had a hospital there. They had helicopters but the hill, they're like Hill 551. We just set up for mortars or doozies. We call air support from there. So you can look at the whole valley, so you can see them coming around. You see the lighting on the villages down below. And then we just direct the fire with, we see movement. And sometimes you just see the movement. You don't see the people who are there. You don't even know if it's a group of soldiers, a group of people, and they got this lighting so you can see where they're going, or they're not like flashlight, they're like kerosene with so they can see where they're going. But at nighttime you see them moving, and so you were looking, and then you call air support and said there's movement. They're not supposed to be nobody down there, and you call for direct fire right there.
So you didn't have to identify if they were bad guys before shooting at them?
But they're not supposed to be. Nobody's supposed to be there.
So did you know about the war or anything that was happening in the war before you enlisted, or did
No.
you just go for full force into it?
Hmm.
What were sea rations?
They were like, no, how can I spell how to say it? It's just like a piece of old bread and pork and beans and I don't know what they call it. Look like dog food, tell you the truth. Like meatballs and stuff like that. And they give you a little can of a fruit cocktail. That was your dessert. Yeah. And yeah, I still got my can opener, my old can opener still.
How did you guys heat up the food?
Huh?
How
They,
did
they bring your food every time you call in for ammunition. They give you enough food. You build up these cases and cases of food. And you got like a bunker, and you stack all your ammunition and all your food, and then we distribute it to all the squads. And then you get you get your 3 meals. I mean, you get these heat tablets. You pour that food in there, and then your canteen, you warm it up, and you put everything in there and just make a meal.
You talked about you had malaria, but did any of your other platoon members have any problem with dehydration?
Oh yeah. Yeah, dehydration. There's no, in those days there was no Gatorade. They would only give you salt pellets, and that was it. They wouldn't. Remember, there was no ice. There was nothing like that. Like now they see. I got a granddaughter's in the army right now, and I look at their stuff. Now they carry their own pack with the water, and we carry a canteen, and you pick it out of the river, and that's where you get malaria. But you die in a thirst. You don't care if you're gonna get malaria. You want water, and then there's so many leeches there. I mean, it's nothing like. And I think the guys from World War II, they were worse than we were. I mean, the clothing was bad. You always got blisters on your feet. I mean, because you're always wet. I mean, it rains. You go through all these canals and dishes and bomb cradles, and you know how they bomb the hole there. You find this giant hole where they drop a big 52 bombers drop their big bomb, and it just goes into the earth, and you see the big old giant hole. and there's still a dud there. And I don't know if they ever blew them up or whatever. I left. I mean, I left after 13 months. I left, those bombs were still there.
How was the climate in Vietnam?
It was very humid, raining. It rained most of the time. 9% of the time it rains. It rains and rains and rains. There are days it never stops raining. You never dry. You might as well just stay wet.
Did you ever feel that anything was wasted in Vietnam? Like, did you guys waste a lot of food or anything?
Well, they were not wasted because I used to give whatever I didn't need, I give it to the little kids that were going to a fire station. And they'll eat it, you know what I mean? You know, they were worse than we were, you know what I mean? They were hungry.
So what was a typical day like in
And
Vietnam?
during from morning to afternoon.
Mhm.
In the morning, when you came back up the hill, come up the hill and you sat down and you wanted to go to sleep at least from 6 o'clock in the morning till about 10. And then we had to go clean up, you know, we had these pits. We had to go and put gas and diesel and for the bathrooms, and everybody had to do all this stuff. And really write letters and try to sleep during the daytime because the nights are long. And you don't want the night. Sometimes you get hit during the daytime, but not very often. But it was most of the nighttime. It's when you got to get ready about at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night. You get ready to go on patrol. Make sure your weapon works. You clean your weapon real good. Make sure it not gonna fire right, and you call everybody. Hey man, we gotta go down the hill again. And we knew where we were going. I mean, and you see them coming, and we're coming because you see this war. We go to this river. You chase them across the river. But we couldn't go across to North Vietnam because the American couldn't make it across. So we just chased them to that point, and they said they'll laugh at you. I'm on this side. You can't do nothing, and that's what I didn't understand about wars. You cannot go over that river. They got this line saying you cannot go because it's North Korea, this is South Korea. You can battle your war right there in the middle. You cannot either go either side. And we chase them. And that's it. It will kill them. And don't try to get them over that river because then they drag their own bodies out.
What weapon did you use?
And M16.
How do you feel when Veterans Day comes around, or when you see any sort of war movie? Do you feel that it's realistic, or do you think that people don't know what war is?
Wars are not the same like pictures, like movies. It's a lot of. There's no such thing as John Wayne or one Rambo. Well, everybody's scared. Every single person, from the top up to the bottom. When they saw there's 5,000 Viet Cong coming tonight, they spotted them. You know, they got all this radar and said there's a big movement coming towards your way. Your body starts shaking, and you say we're not going to leave this one. We got this fire base that we got to control. We got to protect this stupid hill full of rats. Why do we have to protect this hill? I don't know, but you cannot move from here. They're coming. You see them coming. You see the lights coming. And they're waiting for nighttime. They're coming with their ladders and to go over the wire. But it's just the waiting. And then you have to go out there and patrol and see how far they get. And sometimes you get into battle down there and run back up the hill because they're coming right behind you. And you start dragging your people. I mean, People that get shot, you have to drag them up the hill too. Can't leave nobody behind.
If you had a chance to go back, would you go back to Vietnam?
It's exactly me and her were talking. I would like to go see that area again.
Did you ever fight the enemy face to face, or was it a lot of guerrilla fighting?
Only in downtown Chula I saw them. Like, not that close, but you could see them from here to the another house. That close.
So it was a lot of them shooting at you, but you didn't know where they were.
Yeah. And then they don't have uniforms. It's just not like, yeah, America's always got uniforms and, you know the difference between this color uniform and that. They were in their, like, nice slippers, what do you call them? Like huaraches? Like sandals. And they got their belt. And I mean, they're real poor. I mean, you kill them. You see their feet, they're all swollen and they're, they don't look like they eat right or nothing, I mean, when you grab their body, their teeth look bad, I mean, everything looks bad about that body even if you shot them in the stomach or whatever, the body was like, okay, I gave my life for this country or whatever it was. And there were a lot of young ones too, I mean, I was young too, but I mean, they were more younger than I was. And they used the kids for bombs and stuff like that,
Did you ever feel tricked by the recruiter and when he said that you would
See
get
the
to see
world?
the world?
Well, I don't blame him. I just wanted out. I didn't want to go work and pick cherries. I mean, strawberries no more. I did want to go see the world, but not that way. I mean, I thought, you're going to San Diego and then maybe I get a good MOS and I go probably Europe or somewhere in Spain or somewhere. Never made it that far. I just got to Vietnam and back and forth and that's it. I don't blame the recruiter. I mean, it was me.
How often did you get a chance to sleep?
During the day,
During a day, how long?
at least 4 hours. And you're sleeping like the way you are, all dressed up and ready to jump to another hole. Because they used to mark your foxholes, so you don't sleep in the same one every day. And you say, no, I don't feel comfortable. I think I'll sleep over there. Because they can see you. I mean, they can see you from the bottom. I mean, you see all these holes and all these sandbags. They know you're there somewhere. So they just gotta figure out how to get that motor around into your hole. And you're gone.
Have you ever considered writing a book about your own experiences in Vietnam?
No.
Were you ever wounded?
Yeah.
How?
I got strapped.
From a mortar?
Yeah. Yeah, the guy that got the words, he got killed. We're in the same hole.
So this is when you were sleeping?
Mm-hmm. They were during the daytime.
What do you think was the most destructive aspect of that war? What do you think caused the most destruction?
To me, people that died for no reason. I just don't understand why. I mean, not only they said that we killed 300,000, and I don't know how they figure all these numbers. Because nobody. I remember one day, and we killed 124 to 130. Here comes this bulldozer and digs this big old ditch. And all the bodies, we had them piled up one on top of another. You just kind of push them into the hole. There's the dirt on it. So how in the world are they going to keep track? They tag them. Okay, I don't know what they did, but they tag everything in their toes. and sent them, and that was it. I mean, there's no such thing as a graveyard marker or nothing. We're just dirt piled up on top of that hole.
Did you know anybody who deserted?
I only knew one guy that wanted out. He was eating. He told his mom to send him some dog food, so he couldn't. He couldn't. He couldn't. He said his nerves were so bad that his mom sent him dog food, and they thought he was crazy and sent him back home. But no desertion. That I don't know. A lot of guys would tell me. A lot of guys were going to Canada. You know, like the guy that were during when they were drafting. A lot of guys went to Canada. That I know, I don't know nobody.
When you were wounded, how long were you hospitalized?
About 6 weeks.
And what year were you wounded? And how
66.
And how long had you been in Vietnam?
I was on my 8th month.
Uh,
I was getting becoming a short timer already.
so
And you get scared because when you come back from the hospital, your nerves are so bad that you're scared. I mean, it's only, I think it's natural to be scared. Because then it said, maybe they don't want me to leave this place. But I wasn't too worried about getting killed because I said, well, I will help my parents. You know, if I get killed, I mean, I ain't got no kids. At that time, I wasn't married. If I get killed, well, my parents will get this money to help them out. That's what I had in my mind. I said, well, I can help my parents, whatever, little bit of money to the government gives them. That's what one thing I always look forward, you know, I say, well, I get sad, or, because you see people dying every day, just death all the way around you, good and bad, you know, and guys that were just there one day and they get zapped, and you don't even want to know his name. Because, I mean, they were going like flies, they were flying like flies. Every time we went out there in the field, we come back with 20, 36 body bags. That's when they take us to go eat so you can forget about what happened. Here's some beer. Forget about what happened. We're gonna get new replacements. And everything, our squad will get really small. And then we get real long. We come back to the field. We go back with 14 men again. Come back with 6. 14 men and 6. Or 3 or 4. In some squad, they won't even come back. And you see lined up body bags like for miles. I mean, just right there. And you see the arms sticking out of the bag because sometimes they don't even have enough body bags so you just come up, we take our poncho off and just cover the body up. That's how bad it was. And also the experience that I get that, why? Here's my question, why? Nobody answered me. Why? I don't know who decides to send people to war. Why is the reason? And I still don't understand. What was the reason to go fight in Vietnam? I understand, like, Saudi Arabia because it's got the oil, or it's got, like, Afghanistan got all the puppies for heroin and there's money on that. You know, there's a lot of money on medicine because, you know, out of those puppies, they make all kinds of different medicines. You know, I wonder if that's why the Americans got to be there because there's so much medicine there, you know. I don't know. I mean, you're just curious.
Did your parents ever understand what you were doing in Vietnam?
No, my parents were field workers. They didn't even know where I was at. And I thought I was just for a ride. I mean, they didn't know. My dad was in the service. I mean, but he was lucky. He went in when World War II was over. You know, and he didn't see no combat. Well, my oldest brother didn't see no combat. So I said, hey, you going to the Marine Corps? He said, yeah. Hey, man, I went to Germany and I had a great time. But then when my brother went in 57, there was no wars. There were, starting with Cuba and all that stuff. But he was lucky he was stationed in Germany. And then when I told him I was going to, when they told us, they didn't even tell us. They get aboard that ship, and we're going for, they didn't give you, they don't tell you where you're going. Just get aboard ship, and we leave in port. Okay, 26 days and just water. You get up and you see water. The next day you hear all the helicopters going on. Time to get off the ship. You go into combat zone. And I'll tell you one little thing. First time we got shot at, everybody was looking for that bullet where it was coming from. That's how we had no experience. And that old sergeant from the Korean War said, you guys keep looking for that bullet, it's going to be right between your eyes. You keep looking for that bullet. And that's when I kept my head down in that mud. And I just go up like this, oh my God, they're coming. You can hear whistling through your ears. And then it goes down to the rice paddies and you just tear up the rice paddy. But that's an ugly feeling. Sometimes I still get nightmares, and it's been a long time now, 48 years.
Okay, so
But it's hard to talk about that stuff. And I always wonder how my family would have been. We probably would be together, or what had happened. He didn't never had a chance to know what life was about. He had good dreams. He was thinking about being this and that. And that dream was over right there. So, I don't know. That's all I gotta say, If you ever find the answer for me, why that war was on, I would like to know. What was the reason why these 50,000 men died? And one of those 50,000 was my best friend. That's the only reason I did this. If you guys can find out why was the reason why, that'd be great.
thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.